Teeth clenched and knuckles white, Van swerved around it, knowing that his only route now was through the hangar itself. The doors were wide open, but the roof cut the light in half. And for a second, Van was blind, the truck hurtling through God knew what, aimed at the opening at the far end. In the sudden confines of the building, he heard the deafening screech of Dylan's wheels skidding behind him, and knew that he had made the turn successfully. He leaned forward, hoping against hope that there was nothing between him and the exit. There wasn't. The F-100 flew through the warehouse-like structure and burst out into the light at the other end. But that was no ordinary light. As the pickup sped out onto the runway, the Plymouth hot on its heels, the sky went white. Van winced, closing his eyes and throwing his hands in front of his face, the truck hurtling across the strip as he fought blindly to bring it to a controlled stop. A moment later, the sound of the blast hit him, like a cannon going off in his head. He cried out but couldn't hear himself. He had no idea where Dylan was, had no clear sense of where any of the others were or even where he was. The truck was probably still moving, but he couldn't feel it. His senses had been overridden, and he was somehow awake but unconscious at the same time. The world had vanished in the terrible power of the nuclear detonation, and for a moment he thought he had driven into the heart of the bomb, where he would be vaporized, his very atoms stripped apart and consumed. After the light came the cloud, the immense, towering mushroom of destruction which, though miles away, seemed to be on top of them. Van dragged himself out of the now motionless truck, which sat canted unevenly on the edge of the runway, shrinking away from the sheer scale of the cloud, as if it was the face of God himself, or his demonic adversary. The air itself was colored impossibly. Some 30 yards back, Dylan had managed to park the Plymouth, and now stumbled toward him, his eyes wide in awestruck horror. Together, their mutual hatred forgotten in the shadow of the monstrous thing that towered above them, they crouched in the shade of the pickup, their silent faces lit by the unnatural fire above. Their hair streaked out, and their very skin rippled as the shockwave sent the truck creaking and rocking. And there was nothing else in the universe but them and the infernal power blossoming in the Nevada sky. And then, when they had seen enough and were ready to turn away, only then came something else.